Kristen Bailey. Here. Nick Atwood.
Here.
Steve Byers.
Here.
Jose Jaquez.
Here.
Christopher Boyce.
Here.
Mark Shervat. Dante Bynum. And Maria Bello Rodriguez.
And now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next portion will be public comment. Jackie, do we have any public comment?
No.
Hearing no public comment, we'll move into board correspondence. So I guess I'll get the ball rolling just real quick. So as all of you guys read in the weekly board update and the email that Dr. Garcia Sanchez sent out, we had met with Sycamore about potentially looking at what a collaboration on ELDC would look like. So we kind of just want to, I guess first I'll lean on Dr. Garcia Sanchez and our Director of Facilities, Tammy, to kind of go over those two options just in person real quick, just so that you know we're all on the same baseline.
Yeah, basically, what we did was had a visit actually at their new education center, which is on Bethany Road. It's a former, I'm sorry, thank you, it was a former NICOR office, is that correct? Okay. Anyway, they're already doing some adjustments to the building. I guess they had a roof that was leaking and those kinds of things. But the president of the board reached out and was suggesting that perhaps a cooperative agreement between DeKalb and Sycamore could occur where we would actually move our ELDC into the Sycamore offices, build out their offices, and then have our students transported from here to Sycamore. So a couple of things just on top of that is that, and Tammy can go into a little bit more about the square footage, if it would be able to host the 16 classrooms that we needed, and the additional 4, 5, 6 classrooms that they were hoping to get. But just on top of everything else, first and foremost, just remodeling that, what the cost of that would be, and on top of that is the transportation costs that we would have to incur from moving our students from DeKalb into another district in Sycamore. So in this case, we would be required to transport those children, whereas some of them are not being transported by us now. By moving there, we would have to do that. In addition to that, there were just other things that I felt that we needed to consider, such as the safety. ELDC right now, even though it's at shared space with Huntley, has its own space where adults and other individuals don't come through their space, whereas based on what they were considering there at Sycamore, offices for administrators would be across from classrooms where ELDC would be. And there would be 2 different spaces where children would have to cross, where other adults coming from the outside into the building would also cross. So I definitely had some safety concerns on top of the financial concerns. Tammy, do you want to add any, high-level information, please?
After the conversations, we have been looking at the square footage plans, and the information is in front of our architect to just kind of give a preliminary overview, because obviously the two most important things are, is there enough space even on the property to be able to manage that size of that addition of a building and still provide place for playground activities and the proper parking to keep everything separated and bus drop off. So that's one of the first things, is space. And then, as Dr. Garcia Sanchez mentioned too, is the safety concerns, because the building in the center is where the administration offices would be, down the center, and then to the left and to the right are the vacant spaces that potentially could be built out for an ELDC. But how to get students across that, where the adults are of the Sycamore administration building, can be very challenging. It's I would call it more of like a 70s kind of look building that has multi-levels with multi-stairs connecting each side. It's kind of a unique look. So those type of things would have to be addressed first. It's in front of the architect, so that first we're getting that space piece of it, and then if the space is there, then we could make a decision whether we want to proceed with putting in an estimated budget to it.
And just correct me if I'm wrong, outdoor space, was that sufficient or insufficient? And didn't the children then have to cross, would they have to cross a parking lot to get to their recreational space?
That parking lot on the north side would most likely be removed and we'd be building the building out that way. So that isn't as much of a concern as it would be could we utilize both the north and the south side of the building while maintaining administration and adults in the middle.
Yeah, and then the busing.
We'd have to have
routing and
separate,
those kind of
bus
things.
drop off. They would need separate parking because of their visitors and staff. They also are planning to have their transition program in the lower level of that building, which also requires specific parking spaces for their transition staff and their busing for that program. So there's a lot of variables to consider, and we're just in the very preliminary stages of that. But hoping by mid to end of July, I'll at least have some of those answers back from the architect as it relates to space, and then be able to move forward with some very high-level cost estimates.
And as we were all there sitting, one of the things I suggested was perhaps instead of putting in various millions of dollars into their space, that perhaps us building ours out and then maybe them coming over to us might behoove them, and because then our building would definitely be suited and more appropriate for our youngest students. So I think what it sounds like from the president and the superintendent is that there is a high interest of doing something collectively. And I know that in special education and with student and family services, I believe Kyle and team has already probably discussed some kind of partnership over with the transition center, or them being able to facilitate some things there. So I know that there's a want for that, and I think that I'm more than happy to do something that could be collaborative. I just don't know if this is, in my humble and very experienced opinion, I don't see that this particular space is going to do justice for what it is that we need. And then if one day they say down the road, we want our space back, that means we would still have to go out and build something at that time. And who knows if we would have enough time to be able to do that as well. Tammy, anything else you want to add to that?
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And just to kind of second and add some other context, just in talking with their board president, this is a very expensive and big project that we would all be taking on collaboratively. Sycamore, based on their current fund balances and tax revenue, would not have the funds to take on a project like this for another 5 years at the soonest. So I don't know that that necessarily meets the time frame that we would be looking to launch an ELDC for our students either. So that's another really big factor to consider.
So I just want to remind everyone that DCTA was here and did very lightly reminded us that we need to make sure that we're looking at classroom size for middle school. So, the only way that we're going to be able to ensure that there's a smaller classroom size at the middle school is by expanding Huntley into a complete middle school, and therefore finding space for ELDC. So, I think that we don't really have 5 years to be able to do that.
So kind of the big thing that we as a board have to get consensus on during this board correspondence is Sycamore is looking for a response from our board at some point this month, I think. So we kind of have to give hey, we're not looking to pursue this, or we are looking to pursue this. Now, I think collaboration is great, but I think collaboration looks better for everyone involved if we are the ones flagshipping it within our district. So my preference is that we would not move forward on something with their education center. I don't think it fits our needs.
I agree. Actually, I have a question. Tammy, the other half of your building, is that even a feasible possibility
Which building?
of your office building?
Over at Menta?
Yeah, Menta, thank you. I couldn't remember the school name. Like the timing of it, the size of it, all, any capable of building on, is that even a possibility to have that?
The
Enter
current
this
space that Menta occupies is not sufficient enough. Let me take a step back. The building itself, even if our department vacates the the offices we use, the food mart, we find another location for them and we just take the existing structure, that is not enough space for the number of classrooms we need to support ELDC. And I'll also add that we're landlocked. We explored this when we opened up Huntley Middle School, the location at Huntley Middle School. The Park District land to the east all of that is owned by Park District. We had tried to consider a land swap with them, with the Brooks property back years ago. And it was donated in a way to the Park District that does not allow them to swap land. So they will always own it. So we don't have any flexibility to add on to that building in a way that we could gain enough square footage to be able to add our program there.
That popped into my head about a possibility, but I think working with Sycamore in this element makes sense, but you guys saw the building. If it's not gonna work, then yeah, let's bring them over to us. But I don't think we should shut off working with Sycamore.
Yeah, no, and I think that the plan that we were thinking about was looking into essentially they would be charged a tuition rate per student that they would send over as that Sycamore School District would then essentially, instead of them absorbing that cost per student, they would pass it to us. And then they would still be going through our schooling system with DCTA members and all of that. There was some discussions, I know, where some people talked about maybe a co-op. I'm gonna be entirely honest with you, that's pretty much involves creating a whole nother body of government, so I don't view that one as a very feasible plan either, but. So I'm mostly just seeking consensus, opinions, thoughts, and questions from the board at this point.
I like the idea of working together with them, but I do think we should be hosting the facility.
Okay. And then Kristen?
Same.
All right, so I am hearing it sounds like we have consensus from the board that we'd like to let Sycamore know that we're open to collaboration, but we would like it to be done under our facilities and within our district.
Okay, so, what I'm committed to doing is drafting that on behalf of the board along with Tammy. Once we've done that, making sure that the verbiage is correct, we'll run it by our communications manager, and then we'll send it your way
So,
for any feedback and any additions that you'd like, and then the sign-off will come from the board? Okay, thank you.
does anyone else have any other correspondence for the board at this time?
I just wanted to give a big thanks to Amanda Gwinnett and her team. They taught me. I missed the last meeting. I would have said this at the last meeting. But 2 meetings ago, they put up all the slides with the colors and the pictures and all that. And I got the gist, but I didn't understand. It didn't quite make sense to me. They sat down with me for well over an hour, explained everything, and I could not be more appreciative of that time. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
Anything else?
Kristen and I got that same presentation on a different day, and it was extremely helpful.
Okay. Hearing nothing else, we will move into the consent agenda. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items 5B through 5J, board minutes, personnel action items, purchase order requisitions, employment contract for elementary restorative dean, agape therapy service agreement, speech and language therapist, and Sunbelt staffing service agreement as attached. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Jackie, roll call.
Nick Atwood,
Yes.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Jose Jaquez,
Yes.
Christopher Boyes,
Yes.
Krista Bailey.
Yes.
All right, moving into presentations, energy efficiency update by Director of Facility and Safety Operations, Tammy Carson.
Thank you. So I want to pull this up. It's a lot of small numbers and some pretty colors, but I'll kind of explain it. So back in 2021, there was ESSER money that was available, and one of the things that they were encouraging school districts to do was to use the money for energy efficiency programs as well as air quality improvement, HVAC improvements, and such. We were fortunate that our board and administration at that time supported using a significant amount of funds for that. And one of the projects that we brought forth was through our Alpha Controls company, who is a company that manages our, it's called DDC, Directorate Digital Controls, which is what runs our HVAC, our heating and air conditioning systems throughout the district. So our maintenance staff that are trained in this, they're able to get onto the computer no matter where they're at, see any space, adjust it, change it, whatever they need to make sure that we're within ranges. That has been in place since we opened Cortland in '09. And then this program came about with the energy efficiency program, which gave us the opportunity to add not a lot of equipment. It was more the software management side of things that we now have that allowed for occupancy sensors and the ability to program and connect our Google calendars, our high school, it used to be 8 to 18 program, or SNAP activity management program, to Alpha controls, so that our HVAC system knows what's going on in our buildings and when, and it turns our HVAC systems on and off appropriately. So if there's a meeting at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning in a specific room, if it's on the calendar as it should be, by 9 a.m. that building will be at the comfort level that's been determined. So it doesn't require the personal management that was required in the past. And what it has done is gained us significant energy efficiencies across the district. It wasn't a cheap program. It originally cost almost $2.1 million. Fortunately, again, it was all ESSER funds. So there wasn't any funding out of our operations budget that was required to put into this. And when it was done, there was also a significant amount of rebates available through ComEd at the time that did offset some of the 2.1, which again, then became more money available to the district to utilize. Back then, when we implemented it, we started the project implementation in September 21, and it did take us until November 22 to get all of our buildings online, our staff trained properly, because it also requires office staff to manage their building calendars properly, so we make sure that rooms are tied to the events and such. When we put this through, we anticipated that we would be saving $280,000 a year. And when I say savings, it's cost avoidance. It's it's not necessarily like a check in the mail, but avoiding energy costs by reducing how much energy we are using because of the management of the system versus just human intervention, human mistakes, or turning a system on and letting it run all weekend because there's one event coming in and somebody didn't turn it on or off appropriately. We have been fortunate that the system is working better than we anticipated, and we actually originally had an ROI of 6.1 years anticipated. We're currently on track for a 4.6 years of ROI, so we've reduced it. And currently, up to date, we have had a cumulative savings of approximately $932,000. So, and that amount is $233,000 more than we anticipated at this time. So we're very excited, because it is one of those where it was hard to, it's not something I could put my hands on and say, look at that cool new boiler. It was just something that just needed to work. And we put a lot of trust in it that this was going to work. Other districts had implemented it, and it is working for us. The chart you have in front of you just breaks it out by different buildings. If you want to look just to see how each month has tracked, to see which buildings. Obviously, the high school has significant dollar savings because that building is very difficult to manage if you're doing it manually. All the rooms are not always occupied, but they are randomly occupied. So we always make sure that we're trying to make sure our schedules match it so we can handle it properly. So that's where we're at with this program. I just try to provide an update to this, probably at least annually to you, I'd say. But I'm open to any questions that anyone might have.
Chris, that's great news. Thank you so much for that. Although it's not a cash in hand, it's definitely not a check out the door. So thank you so much for making sure that we did that.
Yes.
What's the big, I see that the high school, and you just explained that. What's the big change in Rosette? Why is that such a
You know,
drastic savings?
I don't have a really hard answer on that, except that potentially that building was running more often than it needed to be, because middle schools also can be a little more challenging as groups start coming in and out, that it was running more often than it should have. And now we're managing it. And for the most part, in the summer, most of these buildings are shut way down. Even though we have custodial staff in the buildings, if we don't have students in the buildings, if in areas that do not have students or staff in, for example, at Huntley, the office is running on a schedule because the office staff works 12 months, but the rest of the building is pretty much down at set at a higher temperature level to keep the air from turning on. I just feel like we're just managing everything so much better that we're seeing significant amounts, increases over the years.
So just so I want to make sure I understand, it was fully funded with federal grant money from the ESSER program, and we've already saved almost $1 million on that. So
That's
it was
correct.
cost us nothing, and we get a huge return every year from it.
Absolutely,
So
and we
that's
will
great.
continue even after that 4.6 years after we have paid back that investment. we're gonna continue to have those savings.
Good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you, Tina.
All right. Moving into old business. First item, A, Parent-Student Handbook 25-26 school year. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the 25-26 Parent-Student Handbook. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Jackie, roll call.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Jose Jaquez,
Yes.
Christopher Boyce,
Yes.
Kristen Bailey. Yes. Nick Atwood.
Yes.
All right. Item B, Differential Committee request for approval. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the recommendations from the Differential Committee totaling $77,412.49. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Jackie, roll call.
Jose Jaquez,
Yes.
Christopher Boyce,
Yes.
Kristen Bailey. Yes. Nick Atwood,
Yes.
Steve Byers.
Yes.
All right. Item C, staffing request, increase of 2.0 registered nurse FTEs. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the increase of 2 registered nurse FTEs. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Jackie, the roll call.
Christopher Boyce,
Yes.
Kristen Bailey. Yes. Nick Atwood,
Yes.
Steve Byers,
Yes.
Jose Jaquez.
Yes.
All right, moving on to item 6, Mitchell Elementary School business. Do we have an update for us today? Welcome back again, Tammy.
Just some really quick pictures to share. I haven't been here since sometime in May. We've been doing a lot of outside work. The inside hasn't changed a lot, just as teachers are starting to settle in. So I just wanted to share some outside pictures if you haven't been by. The north parking lot, just on Ridge and Normal at that corner, the blacktopping is done. We actually had to remove the pavers because they were in such damage and they were not in good repair. So we removed the pavers. It hasn't been striped, hasn't been completely done, but the blacktop is laid, and they anticipate all of the blacktop and curves will actually be done by the end of next week. The visitor parking lot, this is just the south side, that's the south fence line that is to our neighbors' backyards. So that's been installed. As you can see, landscaping has already come in. Just like everybody else, we're dealing with weeds, but the contractor will be handling that for us, so those will be gone before our ribbon cutting. Playgrounds, they're not there yet, and that's intentional. We don't want to have the playgrounds installed until July, so they're fresh and new. We have it scheduled. Where you see the kind of the grassy area growing, that is actually the big kid playground. And there's curbs around it already built in, which is a nice feature. We don't have that at our other buildings, but with the new building, we were able to put that in. Then the center is the blacktop playground surfaces. You can see some brand new basketball hoops up there, and then there'll be some other paintings done on for Foursquare and hopscotch and such. And then you can't see it, but the green on the other side is actually the small kid playground that'll be installed. We also have these benches, you may see them in some other pictures, strategically placed around the building, so we have some seating around the building. The bus drop-off lane does not have the blacktop yet, but they're working on it when I was there today. Some of our neighbors decided to put some handprints into the concrete over the weekend, so we're replacing some of that. But other than that, it's been going smooth. Normal Road, this just shows the crossing zone on front of Normal, in case you haven't been there. So as you can see, there's that area between the lanes, so if a student is crossing, there's a place for them to be safe if there happens to be a car coming from the other direction unexpectedly. And then last is just a main entrance picture. I just thought this ended up looking very nice, and the flagpole is all up. We don't have our sign up yet, but that will be the sign, the digital marquee will be up before the grand opening also. So, and that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm just wondering, Rita, do we have any update for the ribbon cutting that you want to share at this time? Other than that we're moving forward with all of that. It will be August 8th it should be on everybody's calendars. That's more of a formal acknowledgement of the building coming online. On Saturday, the 9th, will be a much larger community-wide celebration that we're really excited about, where families can come in. There's gonna be, I hear, hot dogs and all kinds of things, and booze and resources for families. So that will be on Saturday, the 9th, following the back-to-school bash. The Friday event is a little bit more formal, but we're moving along with that, and I think we're in good shape. I just wanna shout out to Organic Life.
Yes, we're working with Organic Life. We're hoping they'll be partners with us on that event to help feature some of the items that they offer for our students.
And
We're
there'll be a
excited about that too.
And there'll be a special shout out to a nice sponsor from the E-Zone, but we won't spoil that surprise.
Not yet,
Just a hint.
not yet, but
Thank you.
yes, absolutely.
All right. Moving into new business, the first item is a staffing request to add 0.6 FTE for DHS drivers education. This comes to us as information and action so that they can get this person hired before the start of the next school year. This is presented by Director of Human Resources, Deidre Sells.
And I may need my partners from the high school to assist. So driver's ed is a requirement for graduation from DeKalb High School. So with that, they have looked at the number of students that need to get through the program, both the driving and the classroom aspect of the class. And based on those numbers, the number of staff we have and the number of seats available, we need to add an FTE. We looked at the option of doing overloads. Per the contract, it would exceed the limitations of the contract. And the contract states that we should not be using overloads in place of FTE. So we are looking to add a 0.6 FTE for driver's ed that will support the current car allotment that we have, as well as give space for more students to complete driver's ed, both the classroom and the behind the wheel. It does not get us caught up, but it allows us to get more students through the program. Because this is a less than a 1.0 FTE at the end of next school year, that position will, the position and the person will come out of that, and then we will look at what our needs are for next year and then come back to the board if necessary. What questions do you have?
How many kids do we have taking driver's ed every year, do we know?
That is a high school question.
Yep. Very good question. We can currently accommodate 456 students, 336 during the year and 120 with summer school.
This
I-
cohort is 515. for
I
this.
imagine this would probably make scheduling quite a bit easier for the students as well, as far as getting time to drive with the instructor and that kind of thing.
Yes, because the students require 12 hours in the car. Each student requires 12 hours in the car, 6 hours behind the wheel, and then 6 hours observing another student driver.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I don't mean to insult anybody with this question, but I have a feeling someone that would normally be here a couple seats over would have this question. So you kind of have to wait until the students start setting up their classes to accommodate for anybody who decides to take driver's ed privately before you even come up with the number that you need for the year, right?
So it's hard to, yeah, that's exactly right. So it's hard to perfectly project what the number's going to be. We have kind of a ballpark. Some kids are like, yeah, for sure I'm gonna take private, but we don't know it until we get the yellow form back from the private company that says, yes, they did it, so we can get them off of our roster and make that space for another kid.
Okay, just checking, thank you.
Yeah, yep,
A lot of moving pieces.
yeah. It's an ebb and flow. Any other questions we can answer?
As President Boyce mentioned, it is for info and action because they do need to get students scheduled for next year and try to decrease those numbers and then see what may be left or what other options may exist for students to register.
All right. Hearing no further questions, since this is info action, it is recommended the Board of Education approve the 0.6 FTE increase at DHS for driver's education for the 25-26 school year. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second?
Jackie, roll call.
Kristen Bailey? Yes. Nick Atwood?
Yes.
Steve Byers?
Yes.
Jose Jacquez?
Yes.
Christopher Boyce?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Moving on to item B, resolution exercising the option to purchase 1240 Normal Road, DeKalb, Illinois, Mitchell Elementary School building. This will be presented to us by our CSBO, Armir Doka.
Thank you. So we're bringing forward a draft resolution authorizing the exercise to purchase the real estate, including the land and the building at 1240 Normal Road. So back in 2023, the board approved a lease to purchase agreement with NIU. The option there was that after the 24th payment, we exercised the option to purchase. So the agreement was so that we can purchase that building. We finished ahead of schedule and under budget, and we would like that the upcoming school year comes under our ownership. There was a law that permits early acquisition if we increase kindergarten classroom size, and we would like to exercise that law and use it to our advantage and have the students start their school year with a district-owned building.
Any questions? Yeah, this one's just information. Hearing no questions? Thank you, Armir. Oh, yeah, consensus to bring this back.
Yes.
All right, and now, Dr. Garcia Sanchez, it's time for your report.
So happy. So first and foremost, I want to thank everyone who works summer school, including the ladies that are sitting here in front of me and all of those that are no longer in the district but taking their very needed rest for the summer. I appreciate that we were able to serve students anywhere from 6th grade all the way through 12th grade. So thank you so much. 6th grade through 12th grade. This year we weren't able to do elementary school. That doesn't mean that next year we won't. But thanks to everybody who's done that work. I really appreciate it. Just to make sure that we keep that movement and momentum going. Registration. If you haven't registered your child yet, please do so as soon as possible. Students that will be registering from pre-K through 5th grade and new students to the district are required to bring in proof of residency as they are registering. 6th through 12th grade are not required proof of residency. Again, I will repeat, pre-K through 5th grade and any new students coming to the district will need to have proof of residency for registration. I said that correct, right, Ms. Pringle? Thank you so much. Okay, I just need to check with her because we wanted to make sure that I didn't say something inappropriate or incorrectly. And then I think that everybody might have heard or been told that the Bar Booster Club is no longer in existence. It's not so much that it's no longer in existence, it's that we currently are in the need of an executive board and additional volunteers. Tomorrow, a letter will be coming out from the Athletic and Activities Department, signed off by Peter Golf and by the rest of us, approving the request for individuals or families, groups of individuals that are interested in helping us to continue the booster program to ensure that our students have an equitable and a wonderfully funded and supported program, either in athletics or activities. So if you're interested in that, look out for that letter tomorrow. If you don't see it, feel free to reach out to Peter Goff via an email, or Rosa Marquez, myself, Donna Larson, or any one of us that can make sure that we get your request to be a part of the boosters over to us to help us make great year for our students. When students are doing these extracurriculars, it really brings joy to their lives and it gives them an additional sense of excitement at being a part of school. Athletes and students that are a part of activities feel a sense of accomplishment and they really do engage much closer and better with academics. So please, please, please look into giving some of your time to the Bar Booster Club. They've done a great job, and we want to continue that repertoire that we have of doing a wonderful job for our families and our students. And that's it for me, so I'm going to turn it over back to our president.
Yeah. I guess just one final closing comment I would make off of that Booster Club thing is, on top of that, we also have some of what I would say are our most successful PTAs and PTOs in the district also, I know at Cortland and Jefferson are also facing that same dilemma. So I think it's really important that we just highlight, it takes a village. as a board, as administrators, as faculty and staff, we can put in the work 100%, but if we don't have you guys there to partner with us along on that ride, it makes it a lot harder for us as a community to move forward. So I just really encourage parents who are interested, reach out to your building principals, find out how you can get involved and really be a part of that momentum and change in our buildings.
Great point, thank you so much.
All right, does anyone else have anything for the good of the board before we end? All right.
Move to adjourn.
Oh, yeah. So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Jackie, the roll call.
You know, all in favor.
Oh, all in favor?
Yes.
All right, we're done.
All right.